Para po sa Resurrection Sunday natin ngayon, nais ko pong i-share sa inyo about the death and resurrection of Christ. Yan po ang title ko. Let me explain kung bakit ganito ang aking title sa araw na ito. Alam niyo po, lahat ng literature, siguro halos lahat ng literature na aking nabasa sa aking buhay, patungkol po sa resurrection ng ating Panginoong Hesus, ay tatawagin ng mga theologians apologetic in nature. Ang ibig ko po sabihin nito, itong mga writings na ito ay designed upang depensahan ang doktrina ng resurrection ng ating Panginoon Hesus mula sa atake ng lahat ng mga skeptics, ng mga doubters, ng mga unbelievers. Pero po, kung babalik tayo sa Biblia, lalo na po kung titingnan natin ang mga ebanghelyo, particularly yung 4 gospel accounts, Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, at babasahin natin yung mga evangelistic sermons dito sa Book of Acts, makikita natin na kadalasan ang portrayal ng kamatayan at muling pagkabuhay ni Jesus Christ is more of an event. Ito ay isang event, ito ay isang pangyayari. Hindi ginawa ng mga gospel writers, sila Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John, at saka ng mga early evangelists, na i-prove ang resurrection ay nangyari. Hindi rin nila pinilit na depensahan itong bagay na ito. Ang ginawa po nila, they simply reported kung anong kanilang nangyari, ano yung kanilang na-witness, and they assumed that God raised Jesus Christ from the dead. At pagka itong mensahe nila ay pinaniwalaan ng mga tao, nababago ang buhay nitong mga taong nananampalataya at sila ay naidadagdag sa iglesia. Sabi po in the past century ng isang kilalang theologian, si George Eldon Ladd, na sinulat niya ang librong A Theology of the New Testament. Isang librong talagang napakalaking tulong na nagawa sa maraming mga Bible students. Ang sabi niya ay ganito, "This was the faith that created the church." He was referring to the resurrection of Christ. Was the faith that created the church. Not the building, kung hindi yung body of believers. Dagdag niya, "That which brought the church into being and gave it a message was not the hope of persistence of life beyond the grave, a confidence in God's supremacy over death, a conviction of immortality of the human spirit. It was belief in an event in time and space." So ito daw ang pananampalataya. Ito ang pinaniwalaan originally ng unang mga listeners ng Ebanghelyo. Dito nakasalalay ang kanilang pananampalataya. Dito sa isang pangyayari na ito, na si Kristo ay nabuhay, na merong Jesus na pumunta dito sa mundo from Nazareth, na itong si Jesus na ito ay hindi lamang ordinaryong tao, gumawa siya ng mabuti, gumawa siya ng mga milagro, siya ay pinatay, pero siya ay muling nabuhay in time and in space. Dito sa isang lugar, dito sa Jerusalem in Palestine. Ito ay totoong nangyari at ito ang pinaniwalaan ng mga tao. At dahil dito, sa paniniwala nilang ito ay nangyari, naniwala sila dito kay Jesus na nabuhay, yan ang nagdala ng iglesia. Yan ang dahilan kung bakit nagkaroon ng mga mananampalataya at tinatawag nating Church of Jesus Christ. Ang apostolic charge, ang utos ng mga apostol is not to defend the resurrection. Although importante rin ito. Hindi ko po sinasabing mali ito. That's what I've been doing for many years. That's what we've been reading na nakatulong sa marami. Pero ang apostolic charge is not primarily to defend the resurrection, but instead it is to believe and to proclaim it. Sabi nga ni Timothy, sa kanyang sabi ni Paul, sa sulat niya kay Timothy, yung huling sulat ni Apostle Paul, sabi niya sa 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 8, "Remember Jesus Christ, risen from the dead, the offspring of David, as preached in my gospel." Yan ang sabi niya, alalahanin ninyo, Tandaan ninyo si Hesukristo na nabuhay mula sa mga patay. Ito ay kabahagi ng ebanghelyong aking preach sa inyo. The apostolic gospel always included the cross of Christ and the resurrection. Laging kasama doon ang patungkol sa kamatayan ng Panginoon at muli niyang pagkabuhay. This is the reason why madalas po nating mababasa itong phrase na ito, but God raised Him from the dead. Makikita natin pagkatapos ng pagkamatay at pagkalibing ng ating Panginoong Hesus. For example, Acts chapter 10 verse 40, sabi doon, but God raised Him on the third day and made Him to appear. Sabi ng Acts 13 verse 30, but God raised Him from the dead. Sabi ng Acts 13 verse 37, but He whom God raised up did not see corruption. Ngayong araw na to, sa ating resurrection message, I want to do something similar, katulad ng nagawa ko na in the past, but at the same time, it will somewhat be different. So pareho, pero may pagkakaiba. Now, you will surely recognize something similar dahil ang ipipresent ko sa inyo ay parehong mga passages of Scripture kung saan natin may kita ang pagkamatay ni Jesus at muli niyang pagkabuhay. But at the same time, may makikita kayong pagkakaiba. At ito yung gusto kong bigyan natin ng diin ngayon. Because I will highlight a different perspective. Parehong mga passages, pero gusto kong tingnan natin from a different perspective. Huwag sana ninyong tingnan itong mensahe na isi-share ko sa inyo as a defense of the resurrection. But I want you to see this message simply as a presentation of facts regarding an event. Ito ay mga pangyayaring tunay na naganap dito sa mundong ito. I want to show you that the death and the resurrection of Christ are events that really happened in the first century and witnessed by many people. At yung mga witnesses na to, kanilang nakita, kanilang narinig, kanilang naramdaman si Jesus, kanilang pinaniwalaan siya, naniwala sila talaga na nangyari ang lahat ng ito, naramdaman nila ito, and they declared these things boldly. And that is how the gospel writers and the evangelists presented the death and the resurrection of Christ. Ulitin ko, hindi primarily present nila ito to defend it, but rather they presented it as something that actually happened. And so, ganun ang gusto kong mangyari sa ating ngayon. I want us to prepare our minds to hear a message that really happened. And then, I want us to pray that the Holy Spirit will use these facts to touch our hearts and to use them to transform us. Katulad ng ginawa ng Panginoon Diyos sa akin when I heard about the resurrection of Jesus Christ and I thought about its implications in my life. Nung na-realize ko yun, that was when God touched my heart, converted me, and saved me. So today, I am going to present to you three things. Gusto kong tingnan natin ito sa takbo ng ating pag-aaral. First thing I want to present to you is the event of the death and resurrection of Christ in the four gospel narratives. No, gusto kong makita natin kung anong nakalagay dito sa Matthew, Mark, Luke, and John patungkol dun sa pangyayari na yon na si Kristo ay namatay at muling nabuhay. Pangalawa, I want to show you the presentation of the death and resurrection of Christ in the sermons in the book of Acts. So, paano prinisinta nitong mga apostol ang kanilang mensahe when they were evangelizing both the Jews and the non-Jews, yung mga Gentiles? How did they present the death and the resurrection of Christ? Yan ang nais kong ipakita sa inyo. The presentation of the death and resurrection of Christ dito sa mga sermon na nakikita natin in the book of Acts. And then finally, I want to show you the impact of the death and resurrection of Christ in the sinner. No, pagka narinig mo ang mga ito, pagka nabasa mo itong nakalagay sa Gospels, pag narinig mo itong sermon na to, ano ang magiging effect sa iyong puso pag ikaw ay nanampalataya? And those are the three things I want to show you today. And may the Lord guide us and may the Lord touch itong message na ito upang talagang ang puso natin ay matransform ayon sa kalooban ng Panginoon. So let me begin with the first point. The event of the death and resurrection of Christ in the four gospel narratives. Let me just say beforehand na marami dito sa i-share ko sa inyo in this first point ay manggagaling sa notes ni Norman Geisler sa kanyang systematic theology. Pero may mga dinagdag din ako. Maybe I've changed a few words here and there, pero generally, ito yung kanyang mga sinabi. Now, here, let me begin first with what we see in the death of Christ in the four gospel narratives. Yung kanyang kamatayan muna, magsimula muna tayo doon. Now, it is important na ma-lay down natin yung mga nangyari tungkol sa kamatayan ni Jesus Christ dahil pagka nakita natin na talagang si Kristo ay namatay, and then may kita natin na talagang si Kristo ay binuhay ng muli. Si Kristo ay hindi lamang hinimatay, siya ay talagang namatay. He did not just faint, He did not just swoon, He really died. At ito ang makikita natin in the four Gospels. First, we see the scourging or the flogging of Jesus before His crucifixion. Etong paglatigo sa ating Panginoong Hesus would have ensured His death. Sabi ng Mark chapter 15 verse 15, so Pilate, wishing to satisfy the crowd, released for them Barabbas, and having scourged Jesus, He delivered Him to be crucified. Etong kailangang maintindihan natin. Itong paglatigo na ginagawa ng mga Romano nung time na yon was a legal preliminary to every Roman execution. Ginagawa muna nila ito bago siya ipako. No, hindi lang diretsong pinapako yung mga kriminal nung time na yon. Kailangan ilatigo muna sila hanggang sa magkalatay-latay ang kanilang mga katawan. And it was known to be terribly brutal pagka sila ay naglatigo ng mga tao. Yung kadalasang instrumento na ginagamit ay isang maikling pamalo na kung saan merong mga single braided leather thongs na iba't iba yung haba. At sa bawat lubid na ito, kumbaga, merong nakatali na mga iron balls, mga bakal na bilog-bilog, at mga matatalim na mga pieces na buto ng mga tupa. So nakatali ito into intervals. And then, huhubaran ng isang tao, itatali ang kanyang kamay sa isang nakatayong poste, and then labas ang kanyang likod, ang kanyang sa ilalim niya at ang kanyang mga binti, biglang hahampasin ito ng dalawang soldiers o di kaya isang tao at iiba-ibahin niya ang kanyang posisyon. Ito ang sinabi ng isang 3rd century historian na ang pangalan ay si Eusebius para i-describe niya kung anong ibig sabihin nitong scourging or flogging. Sabi niya, the sufferer's veins were laid bare and the very muscles, sinews, and bowels of the victim were open to exposure. Dahil sa paglatigo na to, naglalabasan ng mga ugat, ang mga muscles, ang mga kung ano-ano, ang mga litid sa loob ng kanyang katawan, pati mga bituka niya ay nakikita na ng mga tao. Ito ang isang medical, ayon sa Journal of the American Medical Association, itong medical aspects of scourging. Sabi doon, as the Roman soldiers repeatedly struck the victim's back with full force, the iron balls would cause deep contusions, and the leather thongs and sheep bones would cut into the skin and subcutaneous tissues. Then, as the flogging continued, the lacerations would tear into the underlying skeletal muscles and produce quivering ribbons of bleeding flesh. Pain and blood loss generally set the stage for circulatory shock. The extent of blood loss may well have determined how long the victim would survive on the cross. This is a technical description kung anong nangyayari as medical experts studied kung ano nangyari pagdating ng paglatigo, lalo na ng panahon ng ating Panginoong Hesus. And that would have assured na itong taong ito, pag pinako sa cross, siguradong patay. Pangalawa, ano may kita natin in the death of Christ? The nature of the crucifixion assures death. Siguradong patay. Sabi ng isang, si Dr. Richard Butcher, sa kanyang sinulat na article entitled Crucifixion in the Ancient World, ito sabi niya, the pain of crucifixion is not difficult to imagine. In addition to the excruciating pain from the nails, the position of the crucified on the cross led to marked interference with normal breathing, especially exhalation. The crucified person could not exhale properly, and this eventually would lead to painful muscle cramps. Furthermore, adequate exhaling required the crucified to lift his body by pushing up on the feet. This, of course, resulted in searing pain in both feet and hands. Lifting the body to properly exhale would also painfully scrape the scourged back against a rough wooden cross, probably reopening wounds and causing more bleeding. On the cross, every breath would be an agonizing affair. Doing this all would kill anyone, even if they were in good health. So, makikita natin na sabi, hindi mahirap i-imagine yung pagdurusang dinadaanan ng isang tao who is crucified. Habang siya ay nakapako doon, ang kanyang ikamamatay dahil sa blood loss at lalo na dahil sa hirap ng paghinga. Para siya ay huminga, kailangan itaas niya ang kanyang sarili para maka-exhale siya and then inhale. And then bababa na naman siya at magpapahinga sandali. Pero sa bawat kilos niya, nakikiskis yung kanyang likod na puro sugat dahil sa paglatigo dun sa kahoy. Kaya talagang tuloy-tuloy na dumadaloy ang dugo. At tuloy-tuloy na bawat kilos niya nakakaramdam siya ng matinding sakit. Hanggang sa hindi na niya makayanan, nakabagsak na ang kanyang katawan, mahihirapan na siyang huminga, siya'y mamamatay. Third thing na makikita natin in the death of Christ, while hanging on the cross, Jesus said things and acted in ways that affirmed the very moment of His death. No, talagang may mga ginawa si Jesus na yung mga nakarinig na kanya sinasabi at nakakita sa kanyang kilos, alam nila, etong taong ito mamamatay na. Jesus said, Father, sabi niya nung siya'y nakapako sa cross, into your hands I commit my spirit. And then sabi ng Luke 23 verse 46, and having said this, He breathed His last. Sa John chapter 19 verse 30, may konting detalyeng dinagdag. Sabi pa ni Jesus Christ doon, it is finished. And then He bowed His head and gave up His spirit. Itong mga ito na kanyang ginawa at kanyang sinabi ay patotoo na si Jesus Christ at that point namatay na. What else? Ikaapat, after Jesus breathed His last, the crowds reacted in a way that proved He already died. Sabi ng Luke 23 verse 48, and all the crowds that had assembled for this spectacle, when they saw what had taken place, nung sila'y nagtipon doon, tinitingnan nila si Kristo sa krus, pinapakinggan lang ka lang mga sinasabi, tinitingnan niya yung body language ng ating Panginoong Hesus. Nakita nila, patay na talaga si Jesus. What's the point of staying here and watching Him? And then, sabi doon, they returned home beating their breasts. Bakit nila hinahampas ang kanilang mga dibdib? Dahil talagang nakita nila yung inaasahan nila na sana'y kanilang Mesaya. Wala palang kayang gawin. Hindi niya pala kayang iligtas ang kanyang sarili at ang mga tao at siya'y namatay. And so they were disappointed, they were discouraged, they were depressed, and so they were beating their breast. Ikalima, the Roman soldiers accustomed to the crucifixion and death, no? Ang dami na, libo na ang nakita nilang mga pinako at pinatay. They presumed Jesus was dead. Sabi ng John chapter 19 verse 33, but when they came to Jesus and saw that He was already dead, they did not break His legs. Bakit may nakalagay ditong they did not break His legs? Dahil ayon sa custom ng mga Hudyo, the next day was going to be a Sabbath day, a high day. It was so important. At ang kanilang pag-iisip, pag pumasok ng Sabbath day, dapat ay wala ng patay na nakapako o nakasabit dito sa isang puno o dito sa poste na ito. And so, to be able to do that, para tanggalin nilang, they must first be sure na ang taong na-crucify ay tiyak na patay. But you see, depende sa lakas ng isang tao. It is possible, according to historians, that a person who is crucified would take 2 or 3 days bago siya ay talagang mamatay. And so, hindi pwede na pag binaba nila sa krus ang isang taong napako doon, buhay pa, dapat tiyak na patay. And so what they did was, they broke the legs para pagbali na yung mga binte, yung mga buto, hindi na niya may tataas ang kanyang sarili at siguradong siya ay mamamatay na. But then the soldiers noticed that Jesus Christ was already dead. And so there was no need for them to break His legs. Kaya yun ang nakalagay dito. Now, ika-anim, what do we see in the death of Jesus Christ? The piercing of Jesus' side, nung sinaksak si Jesus, nung spear, nung isang Roman soldier at nakita yung dugo at ang tubig na naghalo. Ito ay pruweba na si Jesus Christ ay patay na bago pa ginawa yun ng Roman soldier. Sabi ng John 19:34, "But one of the soldiers pierced his side with a spear, and at once there came out blood and water." Sabi ni Norman Geisler, when this happens, it is a medical fact that the person has already expired. This detail may also be seen to validate the claim that we are reading an eyewitness account. No, dahil ito'y sinulat ni John, ibig sabihin nandun si John, nakita niya mismo na nangyari ito. Pero ito, according to medical experts, pagka ganyan ang nangyari, pag sinaksak ang tagiliran at tumama sa puso, ang dulo ng patalim at dumaloy mula sa tagiliran, hindi lang dugo, kung hindi dugo na may halong tubig, ito ay ebidensyang yung taong yun ay patay na. No, even before nasa'y saksakin. Ikapito, Pilate double-checked to make sure Jesus was dead bago niya ibigay yung katawan ni Jesus Christ kay Joseph para ilibing. Sabi ng Mark 15:44 and 45, Pilate was surprised to hear that he should have already died. And summoning the centurion, he asked him whether he was already dead. And when he learned from the centurion that he was dead, he granted the corpse to Joseph. So dito natin makikita na tiniyak muna ni Pilate, sabi niya, talaga ba? Nagulat siguro siya, patay na si Jesus. As I said, no, usually tumatagal ng maraming mga oras or sometimes even days ang isang tao. And so when he was sure he was dead, okay, ibigay na yung kanyang katawan kay Joseph. Ikawalo, the body of Jesus was wrapped in linen cloths with spices about 34 kilos in weight. No? At makikita natin ito'y nilagay sa libingan. It was placed in a tomb. In John chapter 19:38 up to 40, nakalagay doon, "So Joseph of Arimathea came and took away his body. Nicodemus also, who earlier had come to Jesus by night, came bringing a mixture of myrrh and aloes, about 75 pounds in weight. So they took the body of Jesus and bound it in linen cloths with the spices, as is the burial custom of the Jews." And then in Mark 15:46, sabi doon, that Joseph laid him in a tomb that had been cut out of the rock, and he rolled the stone against the entrance of the tomb. Kung may magsasabing si Jesus Christ ay hindi pa siya namatay nung time na to, tiyak na to, na pagka ikaw ay binalutan na nitong 34 kilos, nitong spices na to, no, nilagay sa buong katawan mo, hindi lang sa katawan, pati sa muka, and then binalot siya na mukhang mami. Tapos nilagay sa libingan, tapos sinarado pa yung libingan na yon ng isang malaking bilog na bato. Wala nang makain si Jesus. Wala pa siyang mainom na tubig. Wala pang medical treatment na bigay sa kanya. Ano pa mangyari sa kanya? Siguradong patay si Jesus Christ. Kung sakali mang may magsasabing, siguro buhay pa siya nung nilibing. Ngayon, siguradong patay na siya. Ikasyam, the tomb of Jesus was sealed and guarded to ensure that the body of Jesus would stay there. Sabi ng Matthew 27:62 to 66, the next day, that is after the day of preparation, the chief priests and the Pharisees gathered before Pilate and said, "Sir, we remember how that impostor said while he was still alive, 'After 3 days I will rise.' Therefore order the tomb to be made secure until the third day, lest his disciples go and steal him away and tell the people, 'He has risen from the dead.' And the last fraud will be worse than the first." Pilate said to them, "You have a guard of soldiers. Go, make it as secure as you can." So they went and made the tomb secure by sealing the stone and setting a guard. So tinan nyo, talagang si Jesus Christ, siguradong patay ito. Tiniyak ng mga tao na mananatili siya dun sa libingan na patay. Merong naggwardya doon, sinelyuhan itong bato na to. At ang sino mang sumira nitong selyo na to, haharapin niya ang Roman law, the full force of Roman law. At tiyak na mamamatay din siya. And so dito natin makikita talagang si Jesus Christ, siya ay patay talaga. Ito ang kasama sa mga nangyari nitong time na to. Now, let me just close this portion with the 10th thing here regarding the death of Jesus Christ. Medical authorities who have examined the circumstances, binasa nila ng mabuti itong nakalagay sa Biblia, naniwala silang ito ay documents na may katotohanan, sinulat ito na talagang totoo, and they studied the nature of the death of Christ. They have concluded that Jesus actually died on the cross. Mga medical experts ito. In an article in the Journal of American Medical Association, ito ang kanilang conclusion. And I quote, "Clearly, the weight of historical and medical evidence indicates that Jesus was dead before the wound to his side was inflicted and supports the traditional view that the spear thrust between his right ribs probably perforated not only the right lung, but also the pericardium and heart, and thereby ensured his death. Accordingly, interpretations based on the assumption that Jesus did not die on the cross appear to be at odds with modern medical knowledge." So sinasabi nila dito na noong si Jesus Christ ay sinaksak sa kanyang tagiliran, yung mga bagay na yon ay nagpapatotoo na si Jesus Christ ay tiyak na namatay. And then sabi nila, ang sino man na nagsasabi na hindi talaga namatay si Jesus, hinimatay lang siya. Ang sabi nitong mga medical experts na ito ay kontra sa nanalaman ng mga tao ngayon in modern medical science. No, talagang wala nang katuturan yon, walang ibig sabihin yon. Base sa modern medical knowledge ngayon, talagang lahat ng pinapakita rito na nangyari kay Jesus ay nagpo-prove na siya ay talagang namatay. Now, so those are the things that we see here. Yan ang makikita natin in the four Gospels. This event that Jesus Christ really died. They were not trying to prove itong mga to. They're just relating the story. They're just saying, ito ang nangyari, itong narinig namin na sinabi niya, itong itsura niya nung siya'y namatay, itong impact sa mga tao, itong reaction sa mga tao. That's all they were doing. They were just sharing the story of their testimony. What they saw, what they heard. Yun lang ang kanilang sinasabi rito. Now, here is what we see in the resurrection of Christ in the four gospel narratives. Ano naman na makikita natin in the resurrection of Christ? So here are the things that we see. Again, ang intention ng mga author in the gospel narratives is just to present to us here the events. Yun ang primary na intention nila. Of course, their desire is that people will believe so that they will be saved. Pero nung kinukwento nila to, gusto lang pakita na, ito nakita namin, ito narinig namin, ito talagang nangyari to. And they're just sharing these things. Hindi, I'm sure, I think ang utak nila, it was not apologetics. It was not defending it. It was just presenting it. So, tingnan niyo ang mga makikita natin dito. First, there was an empty tomb. Yun ang unang bagay na sinasabi lang nakita namin. Nung pumasok kami sa libingan ni Jesus, walang laman. Sabi ni Norman Geisler, while the empty tomb in and of itself is not proof of the resurrection, it is an indispensable prerequisite to the evidences, the physical appearances of Christ. Even the physical appearances themselves would not be convincing proof that Jesus was resurrected bodily if his body was rotting in some grave. Ang sinasabi niya dito kahit na may mga tao magsabi na, uy, nakita namin si Jesus Christ dito. Pero pagka yung kanyang actual na katawan ay nabubulok pa dito sa sementeryo, dito sa isang libingan, kahit ano pang sabihin mo na nakita mo si Jesus Christ, baliwala yon. Kaya malaki ang implications ito pagka ang libingan niya ay wala ng bangkay ng Panginoong Jesus. Dagdag pa ni Geisler, each gospel provides an empty tomb scene. In each case, ito'y may kita natin sa Matthew 28, Mark 16, Luke 24, John 20. In each case, they see a vacated tomb. And in each case, there was the appearance of angels to confirm that He is not here. He is risen. Sa Matthew chapter 28, verse 6, sa Mark 16, Luke 24, John 20. John mentions empty grave clothes with a headcloth folded up in a place by itself. Evidence enough to convince John that Jesus had risen. So, yung mga verses na yan, no? Yung mga chapters na yan na pinakita ko, nandyan yung mga verses na nagpapakita na itong mga taong ito, they saw an empty tomb. Ikalawa, Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene. May kita natin sa John chapter 20 verses 10 up to 18. Alam nyo, ang ganda na sinabi ni Geisler patungkol rito. Sabi niya, it is an unmistakable sign of authenticity of the gospel record that in the male-dominated Jewish culture, Jesus appeared first to a woman. Kung meron daw tao na magsisinungaling, na hindi talaga totoong nabuhay si Jesus Christ at gusto niyang kumbinsihin ng mga tao na talagang nabuhay si Jesus, hindi siya gagamit ng babae bilang witness. Lalo na sa kanilang kultura nung panahon na yon, that is male-dominated. Puro ang mga leader, puro ang mga matataas na posisyon ay puro mga kalalakihan. In fact, sabi ng isang historian, in the first century, a woman's testimony was invalid in court. No, kaya kung gusto mong ipeke ang muling pagkabuhay ni Jesus Christ, kunyari hindi siya totoong nabuhay, gusto mo ipaalam sa kanila na nabuhay siya, ang gagamitin mo siguro isang kilalang disciple. Gagamitin mo, ito si Peter ang unang nakawitness, or si James, o kaya si John, hindi babae. In John chapter 20 verses 10 to 8, Mary Magdalene turned and saw Jesus standing. Una, hindi niya na-recognize si Jesus Christ. Akala niya gardener lang. And then she heard Jesus call her name, Mary. And then pagtingin niya, na-recognize niya na siya si Jesus, tinawag niya siya Rabboni. And then, she touched Jesus Christ's resurrected body na kinakailangang sabihin ni Jesus sa kanya, do not cling to me, for I have not yet ascended to the Father. So what do we see here? Mary saw, Mary heard, Mary touched Jesus. Yan ay nagpapakitang talagang nakita ni Mary, katawan ni Jesus, buhay talaga. Third, Jesus appeared to Mary Magdalene when she was with other women in Matthew 28, 1 to 10. If you have time, basahin niyo Matthew 28, 1 to 10. May kita natin doon si Mary Magdalene, kasama na niya ang iba pang mga kababaihan at yung mga nangyari doon when Jesus appeared to them. Ikaapat, Jesus appeared to Peter in John chapter 20, verses 3 up to 9. Bago magpakita si Jesus Christ kay Peter, ang unang nangyari kay Peter is he ran towards the tomb nung narinig niya sa mga kababaihan na wala na yung katawan ni Jesus Christ doon. Magkasama sila ni John, pero dahil mas bata siguro si John, nauna siyang dumating doon sa libingan bago dumating si Peter. And when they entered the tomb, wala na silang nakitang katawan ni Jesus. That was the first thing that happened to Peter. But then it says in 1 Corinthians 15 verse 5 that Peter saw Jesus. And in the Gospels, we find Jesus appearing to Peter several times. What else do we see? Ikalima, Jesus appeared to two disciples on the way to Emmaus. Sa Luke 24, verses 13 up to 35, and Mark 16, verses 12 and 13. Dito, may kita natin tatlong aspeto ng ebidensya na si Jesus Christ rose again from the grave. Una, itong dalawang disciples na itong pangalan ng isa ay si Cleopas. Nakita muna nila si Jesus but they did not recognize na siya pala si Jesus. And then they heard Jesus Christ explain to them all that was said regarding Jesus in all of the Scripture. Ang haba ng paliwanag ni Jesus Christ with them. And then finally, Jesus ate together with them. Noong na-recognize na nila na si Jesus Christ ito. And then He suddenly disappeared from their sight. This happened dito sa dalawang disciples na ito. And when that happened, ang ginawa nila, tumakbo sila papunta sa mga disciples to share with them the appearance of Christ. At ito ngayon ang ika-anim. Sixth, Jesus appeared to the 10 disciples in Luke 24 verses 36 up to 49. So nagpakita si Jesus sa 10 mga apostles, pero si Thomas ay hindi nila kasama. Habang pinag-uusapan nila tungkol dito sa nangyari dito sa dalawang disciples na to, on their way to Emmaus, bigla na lang nagpakita si Jesus Christ sa kanilang kalagitnaan. Sabi niya sa kanila, "Peace to you." Natakot ang mga disciples ng Panginoon dahil akala nila nakakita sila ng multo. But Jesus told them to touch Him. In Luke chapter 24 verse 39, sabi ni Jesus, "See my hands and my feet, that it is I myself, ako ito. Touch me and see, for a spirit does not have flesh and bones as you see that I have." At bilang huling pruweba na si Jesus Christ ay nabuhay mula sa mga patay sa okasyong ito, tinanong ni Jesus, "Have you anything here to eat? May makakain ba tayo dito?" And binigyan siya ng isang broiled fish, and He took it and ate it before them. Kinain niya, nakikita mismo nila, kasama nila si Jesus, narinig nila, nahawakan nila si Jesus, kumain pa si Jesus na kasama nila. So dito natin makikita na ito ay sinasabi lang nila na itong talagang nangyari. Seventh, Jesus appeared to the 11 disciples, kasama na si Thomas ngayon sa John chapter 20, 24 up to 31. Ito yung mas kilala natin na appearance ni Jesus Christ kasi dito ang nangyari, itong si Thomas doubted. Sabi ni Thomas, nung sinabi sa kanya ng ibang disciples, "Nakita namin ang Panginoon." Sabi niya, "Hanggat hindi ko nakikita ang kanyang mga kamay, yung marka ng mga pako sa kanya, hanggat di ko na ilalagay ang aking daliri sa marka ng mga pako na yon, and then ilagay yung kamay ko dun sa kanyang tagiliran, I will never believe." And then 8 days later, Jesus appeared to His disciples, nakasama na si Thomas. And Thomas saw, Thomas heard, and probably Thomas even touched Jesus. Sabi ng John 20:26 to 29, although the doors were locked, Jesus came and stood among them and said, "Peace be with you." Then He said to Thomas, "Put your finger here. See my hands, and put your hand and place it in my side. Do not disbelieve, but believe." And Thomas answered Him, "My Lord and my God." Jesus said to him, "Have you believed because you have seen me? Blessed are those who have not seen and yet believed." Nakita ni Thomas, talagang totoo na si Jesus Christ ay nabuhay mula sa mga patay. Ikawalo, Jesus appeared to the 7 disciples. Sa John chapter 21, dito sinulat ni John ang pagpapakita ng Panginoong Hesus sa 7 disipulo ng Panginoon while they were fishing in the Lake of Galilee. Dito sa okasyon na ito, nakita ng mga disciples nung sila'y nangingisda si Jesus Christ by the Sea of Tiberias. Pagkatapos biglang ang nangyari rito, buong gabi, they were trying to catch fish, wala silang mahuli. And then Jesus Christ, who was on the beach at that time, sabi niya, "Dito nyo itsa sa kanang bahagi ng inyong bangka. May makikita kayong mga isda doon." And then, nakahuli sila ng pagkarami-raming isda na hindi nila halos maiakyat doon sa kanilang bangka. And then they just had to drag the net full of fish. And then Jesus provided breakfast for them dahil buong gabi silang nagtrabaho pagod na sila at pinakain sila ng Panginoon. And another thing that happened here in this appearance of Jesus, this was the time when Jesus fully restored Peter. 3 times Jesus asked him, Simon, do you love me more than this? 3 beses, dahil 3 beses dininay ni Peter si Jesus Christ, and so 3 times Christ asked him in order to allow Peter to experience that he is fully forgiven and restored by Jesus Christ. Ikasyam, at itong may kita natin in the Gospels na huling appearance ng ating Panginoong Hesus, He appeared to all of His disciples at the Great Commission in Matthew 28:16 up to 20. Alam na natin ito, lagi natin itong binibigyan ng diin. Jesus came to His disciples, and then He called them to Himself, and He said, all authority in heaven and on earth has been given to me. Go therefore and make disciples of all nations, and etc. So all of these, lahat itong mga bagay nito, are testimonies na makikita natin in the Gospels. Jesus died, and they talked about it. Anong nangyari? Anong mga events, ano yung mga circumstansyang pumapalibot sa kamatayan ni Jesus na talagang actual testimonies ng mga taong nakakita. And then at the same time, not only do these 4 Gospels show us that Christ actually died, but these 4 Gospels also show that Jesus actually rose again from the grave. Dito natin makikita are the testimonies of people who saw, who heard, who touched Jesus Christ. Iba't ibang mga tao, iba't ibang mga circumstansya. There were even times na si Jesus Christ ate before them para ipakita ng talagang itong katawan. Sabi ni Jesus, tingnan nyo itong mga marka kung saan ako pinako para makita nila it is the same body. Parehong katawan, yung katawan na namatay. Yun din ang katawan na binuhay muli ng Diyos Ama. But it was a glorious body, of course. But it was the very same body of Jesus. Not a different body, the same body. So that is what we see in the Gospels.